Chapter 4. By the end of the weekend, the whole family was in love with Shadow, and he loved them all too. The puppy and the bean never seemed to have an extra special bond. They never were apart. They roamed all around the house together, giggling and barking. Sometimes Bean was taunting and the puppy was scampering after him, but sometimes Shadow was trotting around like a horse, and the Bean was trying to keep up. They napped together on a soft, fleecy dog bed and took turns playing with the Bean's favorite toys. Shadow seemed to think it was his job to protect over and watch the Bean, as if the Bean were a puppy who needed his care. Shadow was a good little puppy. He was already mostly housebroken and usually whimpered and pointed at the door if he had to go out. And he loved to cuddle. Lizzie spent most of her Sunday evening with Shadow, sleeping on her lap while she watched the movie. She loved the little puppy noises he made in his sleep, while she stroked his silky ears. Once in a while, he would wake her away, stretch and yawn, and give her a doggy kiss on the chin. That was the best. Lizzie and Charles had a hard time leaving the house Monday morning when it was time to head for school. "Goodbye, Shadow," Lizzie said, scooping him up for one more hug. She kissed the top of his silky head. "You be a good boy, okay?" And she put him down and he bounded to the Bean side. Shadow was so sorry to see the girl and the boy leave. Now how could he concentrate? Was the smallest person on the house. He loved his new friend so much. Ugh. Charles and his best friend Sammy chatted about the new puppy all the way to school. Lizzie walked behind them, wishing she had a best friend to do. It would be fun to have somebody her age to tell about all the funny things that Shadow had done over the weekend, like sticking his head into the Bean's toy chest and pulling out a stuffed teddy bear that was twice as big as he was. Charles was lucky when the Petersons had moved to Littleton last summer. Charles had found a best friend who lived next door. But there were no young girls who were Lizzie's age in the neighborhood. She was friendly and kind towards most of the girls in her class, but she didn't have a best friend. Often at recess, Lizzie spent her time reading or looking at things in the computer instead of playing jump rope or kickball. Lizzie didn't really mind that, but once in a while, she thought it would be nice to have someone to share secrets or exciting news with. She brought up telling the whole class about Shadow during their morning meeting, but at the last minute, she decided not to. Somehow, she wanted to keep him to herself for a little while, knowing that she was going to have to find him a good home and give him up soon made him even seem precious to her. At that day, everybody was talking about Helen Keller. Mrs. Abeson asked how many of them had been reading the book over the weekend, and lots of hands went up. "What interesting things did you learn about Miss Helen Keller?" Mrs. Abeson asked. "I don't see how Miss Helen Keller could climb trees and stuff like that," Noah said. "For heaven's sake, she couldn't see anything." "Blind people can do lots of things," said a girl named Maria Santiago, who was even newer to Littleton Elementary School than Lizzie. Usually, Marina was a shy girl. Lizzie was surprised to hear her speak up loud and clear. "That's right," Lizzie said. "I found out this weekend I spent a lot of time wearing a blindfold so I could see what it was like to be blind. It wasn't so hard to wear my way around the house." Lizzie almost didn't mention how many times she had tripped over the toys that the Bean and Shadow had left all over the place. The only thing was, I didn't really feel blind, and I could still see the light and dark through the blindfold. Again, Maria put her hand up. "Lots of blind people can see light and shadow," she said softly. "The world isn't completely dark for most of them." Lizzie looked at her. All of a sudden, Mariah seemed to be... Maria started to seem a bit like a know-it-all. What happened to the girl who hardly ever spoke in class when she was called on? Lizzie shrugged. Maybe, she said. Another thing I noticed is that my hearing didn't really get any better. It's possible when you're blind or your other senses like hearing and touch start to make up for it. But maybe that takes a while to happen. Maria was shaking her head. Miss Aitson called on her. Maria, do you have anything to say? Well, it's knowing that it's a kind of myth that blind people can hear better, said Maria. Their hearing is the same. They just need to learn to pay more attention to what they have to hear. That makes perfect sense, Miss Aitson nodded. Lizzie frowned. Wasn't it just the same thing she just said? How could Maria know all this stuff anyway? Lizzie couldn't help but be curious. But Miss Aitson had moved on to asking everyone to get their math homework out so that there was no chance for more. The rest of the day dragged by. Lizzie couldn't even wait to go home and see Shadow again. When the last doorbell rang, she grabbed her jacket and met Charles and Sammy outside. The three of them almost ran all the way home.